Literally no one is talking about this, but the actual faction war between the Horde and the Alliance is coming by the end of the War Within. Blizzard literally told us in an interview a few months back that the Alliance and the Horde unite and then fight each other, and this time it will be no different in the World Soul Saga. Together with this, we are facing the biggest threat to Azeroth ever. I know this happens every 2 years, but literal titans are coming to Azeroth, Void Lords, the Light, as well as the actual World Soul is being converted as we speak, and the Alliance will have to be united more so than ever. Anduin had his little episode of soul searching and losing the Light, being a nomad with no purpose, but everything is hinting that he's going to return back to the throne real soon. He already got his Light back, he's getting his confidence back, and now that the Alliance needs a Vryn more than ever, it is very likely that it will also get their king back. You can actually play War Within on your phone with Awesome, this video's sponsor. Check in on your characters or just play the game, as you can control your PC with your phone completely free. Awesome is super easy to use. Check out the link and download the PC and the phone app and just connect it. The free version itself is amazing. You can control your desktop, transfer files, but the real deal is the game version. It has custom keyboards for various games other than just WoW, and you can enjoy AFK gaming at any time, anywhere with game sound. Make sure to use my code ON to get 7 days completely free, only for the first 200 people. Start the Boat Gaming as they got hot sales up to 40% off on Pro and Game versions. Check out Awesome. So, Anduin's disappearance did kinda come out of nowhere. Of course, it wasn't shocking. I mean, he was literally abducted by flying monsters from the Shadowlands and then turned into something like a Death Knight, a mindless servant, but most of us expected him to come back shortly after the Shadowlands, as he really wasn't leading the Alliance all that long, and most importantly, and this is the most important thing, I mean, he's a true heir to Lordaeron, a part of the Vryn family that has been ruling Stormwind since forever. However, all of that changed. Now, based on what is currently going on in the War Within, it does seem like I was a bit wrong and honestly expected that Anduin's soul-searching thing would be related to him exploring the various planes of existence, the cosmology, figuring out that the things are not as they seem, but it really does seem like Blizzard is actually pushing the entire predictable PTSD angle and soul-searching, which, while okay, of course, does seem a little bit predictable and cheesy. I mean, yeah, I get it, he was possessed for a little bit, he did some things, but it's not like he was the Lich King, he murdered his own father like Arthas, destroyed his own kingdom. I mean, he literally attacked some random Archon in the Shadowlands that we didn't even know existed and we probably won't ever see again. Let's be real, I mean, his father Varian was kidnapped, enslaved, turned into a gladiator, fought dragons, and then came right back the next day to rule the Alliance. He didn't go to soul search while someone else was leading his kingdom that he actually inherited from his father. Now, of course, I mean, we can't cut some slack for Anduin. I mean, despite the entire gentle aura that he has around him in the community, he really has been through a lot. I mean, he did lose his mother very young, his father when he was just a teenager, he was literally abducted 2 times, turned into a Death Knight 2.0, all by his early 20s, but the most important point is that a lot of time has passed, and based on what is currently going on in the War Within and what we learned from some interviews in the World Soul Saga, it is about time he steps up to his actual responsibility. So after Anduin was freed back in the Shadowlands, he first talked with Sylvanas, but it was confirmed this wasn't actually that long as we previously expected, and then he returned to Azeroth at an unknown point. He, just like us, heard the call of Azeroth, if that even is the Radiant Song of Azeroth, and he was among the first, and this led him to Silithus and that entire cinematic that started the World Soul Saga right next to the sword. It is important to know that Anduin was missing, with only one hint talking about his sighting during the Dragonfight, and there was a time skip between the Shadowlands and Dragonfight, so really, it has been approximately 5 years or a little bit more since he left the throne, and Turellian has been ruling in his stead as a regent. In fact, when you think about it, by this point, I mean, Turellian has been king longer than Anduin was, based on the timeline that we know, but all of that is about to change. As I said, it was confirmed Blizzard really is pushing that angle of soul searching and him being lost, that there was actually a lot of progress with Anduin throughout this expansion. Most importantly, he met Farin Lothar, he met with the new Arathi humans that he never knew about, and he started actually doing things and working with the Alliance again. I mean, he's not just some nomad anymore. However, all throughout this journey, they built a gradual return of him, from a broken and lost man into a more confident figure. First, he talks about how the light has abandoned him, how he will never get it back, how he is not worthy, he doesn't even know what is true anymore. Then there are multiple attempts where he tries to get the light back, and then in that cinematic where Khadgar returns from Xal'atath's grasp, he needs the light more than ever, and he actually gets it back, and he manages to do yet another resurrection. As you may be aware, Anduin has been capable of actual resurrection multiple times in the past, which I know, this doesn't seem like a big deal. I mean, it literally happens every second in the game, but it is a super rare occurrence in the lore. This never really gets expanded upon much about what this light is that he got, whether it is the same one as before, whether it is related to Beledar and the Arati, but ultimately it does return. I mean, it does seem like the light is one thing. Light has been an integral part of Anduin since he was first introduced as a character. He was always said to be an incredibly natural talent as a priest and a favored person of the light. He is used in such a manner that we've never seen beyond pretty much what any other practitioner can do, so you can imagine once he loses his ability, the ability that got him through the toughest times, that he is completely lost and clueless, and obviously he doesn't even want to be king anymore. Well, he just got it back, he is coming back to his former self, and now it is time to talk about his other, even more important responsibility, and that is, as I said, him being the king. So, as I said, there have been hints throughout the game, just how it started with the light, with him mentioning it, and then not being able to use it, and then finally getting it. Something similar has been going on multiple times with his dialogue in regards to him being the king of the Alliance. Multiple times he starts to introduce himself as the king, and then he kind of reverts last second, as if he forgot he has abdicated the throne. Even Farron asks him whether he's the king of the humans, and he says not anymore, but with a certain suspicious tone. All of this is happening before he got his light back. Almost certainly, this is a setup for him to return back as the leader of the Alliance. It really doesn't make any more sense why he's not just taking the crown back, seeing that he's literally with us once again and we're fighting a pretty serious threat. Based on everything that is happening, the World Soul Saga is going to be the biggest threat to Azeroth ever. It will be bigger than the Legion or the Scourge or anything else we had ever faced. We're talking about the actual conquerors and the actual shapers of Azeroth, the Titans, and us being invaded by the actual Void Lords while our World Soul is being converted into the Void. It has literally never been this bad on Azeroth. I mean, Azeroth is literally cooked, despite the fact that we're getting invaded every 2 years by some crazy cosmological guy, some crazy force. Sure, it made some sense that he was a broken man back in Shadowlands after we just saved him from the Jailer's grasp and him soul searching while nothing was really going on, as you can see in Dragonflight, but it would make zero sense why Vryn would not lead their people in the most trying of times when they need him the most. It really doesn't go along with his character, his own sense of responsibility, that he would continue to be an outside figure and let others do his job. Now, another big reason, and of course the most important data-supported reason that I think it will be happening maybe as soon as midnight, is because Blizzard has actually soft confirmed a faction war. I know literally no one is talking about this. I feel like I'm the only person that made a video on this. It really does seem like I'm just making this up because the factions so far are really as good as United. We might as well just get rid of them. But a few months back, Blizzard did come out with an interview talking about how soon something will happen and we won't be as friendly as we are right now. The way the interview was framed is that this won't be BFA or some crazy worldwide faction war once again, but it will also break this factions uniting that has been an ongoing theme these past few expansions. They said that the Horde and the Alliance constantly ally against external threats and then battle each other, and this time it will be no different. I'm almost certain this will be related to Midnight. I mean, the entire area that will be the focal point of Midnight, Qualthalas, and potentially the upper portion of the Eastern Kingdoms is incredibly divided when it comes to the factions. It is the former lands of Lordaeron, the former lands of Turalyon, who is currently leading the Alliance. Qualthalas is also allied with the Horde. This is the birth lands of his wife, Illyria. Then we got Vorgen, the Arati, and the Arati Highlands. We got the new Arati Kingdom that we're yet to discover that is very likely not friendly to us. Furthermore, the Light is set to return in a big way in Midnight, as they did say that we will defeat the Void in the final battle. battle together with the forces of the light. Almost certainly Anduin will just have to get it together and get back as the king. In my opinion, since they don't seem to be turning Turalyon into the bad guy that we previously speculated about for years a million times before, it might make sense that once the Light Army arrives, if they are our allies, Turalyon might abdicate the throne or just return it back to Anduin while he leads the Light Army. As remember, I mean, other than the Regent King of the Alliance, Turalyon is the actual leader of the Army of the Light, so someone will have to lead this Light Army. Overall though, as I said, Anduin even now in 11.1 is no longer the broken man crying in that opening cinematic. He already got his light back, we're getting a grip on what is going on, and it is really about time that he is going to return. Personally, I'm super curious how this faction war is going to turn out, as it doesn't make any sense right now. The Horde is also kinda leaderless, with their creator Troll pretty much being on the same path as Anduin, which again will have to change if they do get into conflict. It wouldn't make much sense for the Alliance to be led by a king, while the Horde is led by like a dozen different random characters. In fact, can you even name all the current Horde leaders right now without actually googling it? The War Within is just a warm-up for the World Soul Saga, so not much is going on right now, but soon things will change, the factions will change, and we are going to see change in leadership for both the Horde and the Alliance as we get into Midnight. Thanks for watching. Check out my video on why literally no one is playing these specific races by clicking on the screen, and check out my second channel for Raid by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!